Hey, what's up? This is Terrell Davis, and you're listening to the Live Life on Offense podcast.
Blue 42! Hut! Hut! Hike!
Welcome to the Live Life on Offense podcast with Hall of Fame running back and two-time Super Bowl champion Terrell Davis and myself, Kevin Shoemaker, real estate entrepreneur and CEO of the Terrell Davis Group. We dive deep into what it takes to develop the championship mentality for your business and your life. We provide you the playbook for entrepreneurs that moves the chains down the field so you can live a life that is more than just existing, but a true life on offense. Let's kick it off.
Yo, what's going on, Kev? How you doing, man?
TD, I'm good. It's driving through the season here. Just loving catching up on all the games. It's looks like you've been in the grind on NFL Network and putting the time in. How's things going there?
Yeah, I think you did you see my Tide commercial for the by the way? Did you see it?
I saw it.
I wasn't. I'm not expecting any awards for it, man. But I thought that maybe I should get a Grammy for that. No, it was an Emmy. What does he get, an Emmy for that? Yeah, I think Emmy comes out pretty soon.
Looked like you've been hitting the gym a little bit. That was my first take.
I had a little medium shirt on, so I had to make it look like I was pumping some iron. So TV's gonna make you look a little heavier. So I was like, all right, I got to get a smaller shirt so that people think that I'm doing some work around here. But it was fun doing that commercial. It really was. It was the shortest commercial I had ever done before, though, because normally you do a commercial, you're talking about sometimes it's all day, probably a minimum a few hours. We did that in about 30 minutes, and that was it. And of course, there's different reviews. Some people hated it. That's okay. Some people loved it. If you loved it, then you're my boy.
It was natural. I looked at him like, I'm pretty sure he's not. I thought he was in New York.
Yeah. Somebody gave me the greatest compliment, though. They said, man, you were the best actor of the worst actor. I was like, oh, that's great. I could ask for a better compliment.
Right. Well, I was talking to a buddy the other night when we were watching the game, and one of the things that we were kicking around we're about 5-6 games into the season for a lot of the teams, and 7 games, whatever it is, and you see some of these new rookies that came in that were really impressive at the beginning of the year, and now all of a sudden there's, whether it's their ego, whether it's whatever it is, maybe they had a few setbacks. But one of the things I was, and I'd love to just sort of break it down a little bit today with you. I go back to, the comment you made to me about being true to the game. And what are you seeing out there, on the sidelines with in your experience with all of that? Break that down a little bit for us.
Yeah, I remember saying that, and then you were like, man, I love that. Be true to the game. And I was like, wait a minute. I thought that was something that most people had heard. But really where it came from is my mentor. For many, many years, he would always say, hey, man, be true to the game, and this game will be true to you. And, when you first say it, you listen to it. What does that really mean? And so after a while, he says it, and he kept saying it. And over the years, I really started to understand what it meant. And the first thing that I think it means is, you've got to be, whatever your craft is, you got to be true to your craft if you want the results. And so if you want to be a good football player, a great football player, whatever it is, you have to be true to your craft. That means you've got to do a number of different things. I think the first thing you have to do is be honest with yourself about what it's going to take, because there's some people, I've been fortunate to be in football world for a long time, and I've seen really, really good athletes. And, some of them just think that their talent will get them to where they have to go, and that's all they have to work on. I'm a talented individual. That's all I need to do. I walk into the building, no practice, no preparation, no training. The talent's there. So when they were in high school, they were in middle school, wherever they came from, they had talent. And so they thought that the talent alone would get them to where they needed to go. But if you're honest with yourself, you're looking at yourself saying, all right, I have to improve in these areas. I got to be true to the game, which means I got to put the work in. I've got to prepare. I've got to do all this stuff. It means I have to sacrifice. It's doing every little thing that you have to do to where when you look back, you say, okay, the results are coming because I'm staying late after practice. I'm sacrificing weekends without going out with my boys. You know what I'm saying? I'm staying home. I'm working out. I'm eating right. I'm doing everything to give myself a chance to be great. If you're thinking like that and you're thinking along those lines, you're on the right track. But if you're not, if you're looking up saying, okay, I'm not good, what's wrong? I should be better than this. And you expect to be great, but you haven't put the work in, it just doesn't measure up. It never has. And I've seen that throughout my life, and so I was aware that, man, if you want to be great at something, the work has to be put in. You got to be true to your craft. There's a requirement that we're all required to put in. There's time. There's events we must attend. There's so much stuff that you have to put into it. And again, we don't control the outcome of anything. We control our effort. We control, how to increase the probability of being great, of doing something successful. And that's what it means. It's being real to thyself, being true. So that when you look at the results, you can't say, all right, I didn't, I expected to be better. Well, if you didn't put the work in, I've had a few times where in my life, Kevin, I did something and I was aware that I wasn't putting the work in. And then I looked up and I see the results didn't match up. And I wasn't shocked. I was like, oh yeah, okay. It didn't work out. And I know why. Because I wasn't being true to what I was trying to do there. It's like playing golf. You play golf. Golf is the same thing. Golfers are like that. You have guys who want to be scratch golfers. But they don't put the time in. They don't go to the range. They don't go to the chipping green. They don't putt.
Well, I remember when I was taking some golf lessons over the summer, trying to polish the game, and when I showed up, and my coach basically said, okay, here's how it works. Is I'm gonna you come to the session, and I'm gonna show you the skills that you need to practice, but don't come back to the next session without practicing what I've taught you.
And what you do? Did you skip that? Did you just skip right over them lessons?
Were you watching me? You were watching me on the course. No.
It sounds familiar. That's why I'm asking the question.
Well, and I think there's so many people out there that there's that instant gratification. People want to have it now. They feel like there's the magic pill. Whether you have a life coach or there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there that are have coaches, and they feel like it's the magic bullet. And no matter what, you have to put in the time and the effort to get to where you want to go. And again, that's why, just looking at the whole sports side, to the entrepreneur, there's so many things that are similar. And I guess that's why when you said that, be true to the game, it hit home so hard, because it's there's so much validity to that.
And so if you're sitting there, you say, all right, I want to open up a business, and you have your business plan all planned out, and you see on the business plan that it says, all right, this is what it's going to take to reach this goal. Let's say you wanted to make $1 million. You do the business plan, and it requires a certain amount of phone calls, a certain amount of meetings, a certain amount of whatever it takes. And then you have another business plan that says, all right, I want to make, $5 million and $10 million. Each level of your goals and your business plan is probably going to require a certain amount of effort and homework and studying and preparation and just time. And if you see that and you say, all right, okay, I want $10 million, but I want to put in the work of $1 million. Kevin, the math doesn't add up. It never has, it never will. And if that is what you think you need to do, and that's how you operate, then you're not being true to the game. That's not being true to the game. Being true to the game understands that, listen, this thing is going to be difficult. I know exactly what I want, and I'm aware that the assignment is dangerous because I'm accepting the assignment. And that's what you get people doing, where they say, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and conquer this thing and sign up for this, but I want the results to be that. I can't tell you, man. Again, just growing up and being in locker rooms and seeing it play out, it's been truly remarkable to see that.
Well, I think so many times people people get caught up in the $10 an hour work instead of delegating out those pieces in the entrepreneurial world. And they so with any growth of a business, it's a matter of making sure that the goal is to get your name out of as many boxes as possible. So you're going to be in the highest the highest skill set box. And it's and sometimes you're so far in the trenches that you don't step back and really work on that strategic plan to get you there. And I think that's just has a lot to do with again, just putting the time in.
Yeah. I was at my kid's school the other day, and I remember that he left the classroom and he came home and he said, I guess it was one of the lessons they learned in school, and the teachers told him, this is what the teacher told him. This is what he told me. She said, "What are you like? When are you supposed to be nice? When are you supposed to act right?" And he was like, I have to kind of be nice and do the right thing even when no one is looking. And that kind of resonated with me. I was like, wow, that's what it means to be true to the game. True to the game means that in front of people, and I see this a lot. You see the quarterback, or they talk about an athlete and say, oh man, he's the first one in the building, he's the last one out. And sometimes I wonder, I'm like, okay, is that just that player showing up, just trying to look the part so everybody thinks he's a hard worker? You know what I mean? So
Right.
you can fool yourself or other people, but you can't fool yourself. So if you're showing up and it looks good, when the lights are on, the cameras are watching you walk into a locker room, and it's like, oh yeah, I'm the first one to the building, I'm the last one out. But the reality of it is, if no one was watching you, would you be the first one in the building and last one out? If or, I know you're working out. I've seen you working out. You know what I'm saying? I watch players and I'm like, all right, I see you working out. But is your workout just kind of window dressing? Are you there? Are you practicing with a purpose? Are you training with the mindset of being the best? And you see lots of guys going through the motion, and it's not only in sports; it's in the business world as well. I've been there for over 20 years, and I've seen it. And so it's the honesty that I talked about, that people have to have with themselves, to be honest, to say, let me just take an evaluation from an external standpoint to say, all right, let's be honest, man. I know I'm showing up, I know I'm working out, but am I really working out, or am I just doing enough just to where it looks the part, and that I can tell myself, all right, you worked out, so it should pay off. That's really been a huge difference in things that I've noticed.
Well, in life, there's so many distractions. I mean, you go back, many years ago, we didn't have technology and some of those things to distract us, and now we have, whether it's text messages or emails or whatever, but it's the phone's tied to our hip in our pocket, and so we have those distractions, and so having that high level of self discipline is so important. And what do you see? What would you say is one of the things that really helped you stay true to yourself and be so disciplined to block out those distractions?
It's been a challenge. It's always a challenge to be true to the game, because there's a lot of things that are pulling on you. And I think the one word I would use is the word sacrifice. There's a lot of sacrifices you have to make to be true to the game. And so it's been tough. I remember as a young kid going to practice, man, and it's right in the middle of the summertime. It's about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. All the kids are out in the front yard or in the front of my house on the street playing. You got the little girls out there, and it's a good time to be out there hanging out with your fellas and the little girls from the summer. And my mom calls out, all right, you got to go to practice. And nobody else is going to practice but me. So I got to go in, leave all this fun, go in the house, get my pads on, get my bike. I'm either walking, I got my bike, or my mom's going to take me to practice. But I had to walk away from that, man. You know how tough that was to leave every day in the summer, or at least during the weekdays during the summer, to walk away from all that fun, man, the ice cream. And I mean, in the summertime, that's the only time you get a chance to hang out as a kid, man. So I remember just many summers doing that. I remember as a kid growing up, man, I had a paper route. and I'd wake up and throw newspapers at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning. It was my brother's route, but I would help them get up and fold newspapers and have to sacrifice all that. So that was kind of being true, and having to use that as an additional workout. And then go to practice in the afternoon. So I had 2 days. I was having 2 days for a long time when a lot of kids were out there just playing
Right.
around on the street. So yeah, it's sacrifice is a big part of it. And if you're not sacrificing a lot to get to your goals, then that's my opinion, man. It's hard to be true to the craft if you're not making those type of sacrifices.
Well, and it's as we get it, we're in the fourth quarter now. We get closer to the end of the year. Everyone has like everyone's goal setting. Everyone's gonna be goal setting in the next month or two if they've not already started now. And I think that as you've said already is there's a lot of pain involved. If the bigger the goal, the more the pain. And so really being able to identify what those sacrifices are going to be, and be committed, and building out the schedule so it's in alignment. So your daily actions and weekly actions are in alignment with with what your goals are.
Yeah, absolutely. So this really comes down to sort of structure. It's structure. It's kind of planning. It's just putting things, prioritizing what you think are the things that are important, making sure that whatever you do that's in your daily life that is adding to your goals, that it's in alignment with your goals, things that you want to achieve. So you put them on there, and things that are not, you either have to accept them as, okay, these are just sort of my mental get away from mental breaks, whatever it is, just take to relax, or you have to allow yourself to have some stuff that takes you away from it. I choose to. I mean, most things I do now, I'm kind of I try to stay real focused. It doesn't always happen, but you try to stay as focused as possible and align your schedule and build something that has a routine in it, so that you have some structure, and so that things are are all in place, and it's more efficient, and it's all building towards what the ultimate goal is. And a lot of the ultimate goal is really just kind of that adds to it. It's just seeking information. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're learning, you constantly are growing, you're trying to better yourself, and everything is done that is ultimately saying, all right, I know what my goals are, and are these actions in line with what the ultimate goal is? And that's the challenge for a lot of us, But that's one challenge that I enjoy, and really I think that's kind of the action. That's the things that I get now. I don't play football anymore, so I don't get that kind of that action, and thank God I don't. But that was too much. That was too much sauce,
Yeah.
as our buddies would say, man. But yeah, too
Well,
much sauce playing.
well, and you look at I was when we look at breaking down our business, it's there's there we block out times to work in the business and times to work on the business. And one of the things that, just with our agents, that's been really helpful is, when they're in a little bit of a fog, is taking that 7-day blank calendar, and then just tracking, from 7 a.m. till 8 p.m. each day, tracking what they do on the hour. And it's amazing that 2, 3, maybe 4 days go by, and all of a sudden they could see what if they're true and honest to themselves, they're going to see where the little where those where the the time the time wasting moments are. And it's really just being very intentional in that schedule. And but if you track it, it'll the errors will float to the top fast.
That kind of reminds me, when you talk about tracking things, and one of the things that our buddy Michael Reese talks about, and which is really good. He talks about things that are not. I'm kind of paraphrasing this, that you can't really correct things that you don't measure. If you don't measure or track anything, it's just hard to hard to improve it. And so that kind of speaks to that. It reminds me a little bit of just kind of, if you wanted to lose some weight. I know when I'm trying to do some, whether losing weight or trying to increase muscle mass or whatever it is, working out, you got to know what that is. It has to be tracked. It's got to be put on paper. And I just find it sometimes funny when you talk to somebody and you say, hey, like they're telling you about their weight their weight problems or what they're trying to do, and say, all right, well, what'd you do? Well, I went out and ate, and I had this for dinner, I had that for dinner, and I had a little bit of that, a little bit of this, and I'm thinking to myself, well, do you understand how many calories and fat that's in that food you just ate?
Right.
And we're like, I don't understand why I'm not losing weight. Okay, so here's a problem here. You're not being true to the game.
Right.
True to the game is you can't go out there and just and think, okay, that, and my mind's telling me that because it's small in portion size, that it has, 0 calories, no fat, no cholesterol, nothing in it. You've got to know what's in that. And if you don't know what's in that, it's difficult to try to make the adjustments and then see the results as the weight falls off, because you're guessing on what you're eating versus, all right, I know exactly what my meal plan looks like. I have this much protein in the morning, I got this much protein, the carbs, whatever it is you're eating, all that stuff has to be planned out, and you have to know what's in the food. Because I was shocked. I mean, I was just looking at some of the wrappers I was at a gas station the other day getting my car washed, and I just looked at the wrappers. I was like, man, let me see what's in this donut. It was a glazed, it was a honey bun. Man, that thing had over 700 calories. It had over 53 grams of fat. It was ridiculous just for a little honey bun.
You put it back on the shelf, right?
Oh man, well, of course I did. I mean, I bought it just so I can examine it to make sure that it was truly had many calories in. No, but that's what I'm saying. Like, you see it and you say, all right, it looks like it doesn't do much damage, but you don't knowing is kind of half the battle. Just you have to know what's in that, and then you can plan and make the correction. But yeah, I mean, so being true is all right. I can play these mental games and say, all right, I'm not eating a lot of food, but the reality is that the food that we're eating, and I'm kind of on the same thing, is that we assume it's not a lot, but it really is. And so that's kind of the analogy for understanding how the sort of cause and effect deal works.
Well, my awareness now is that I need to probably get back out to the driving range to be true to my my golf coach to get so I can get my swing in line before my next lessons. This is what I just realized.
That's what and I agree with that. You can't blame the coach, man. Don't blame him. Don't say he's not a good instructor just because your golf game sucks right now. You got to give him a chance. You got to put the work in, come back, do your homework, and then come back, and then you'll see how the results. I mean, hold up, and on top of what you just mentioned, is there's a bit of patience that has to happen. You got to be patient with it, because we want the instant gratification. We want to have that, but and a lot of things we do, it's not going to be there. It's not like, it's not really all right, if I push this pencil off the table, I see it fall. Sometimes you push something and you see no effect to it. You see a cause, but you see no effect. I.e., working out, trying to lose weight. You can go into a gym for 3 weeks and feel like, man, I've been killing it, and I don't see a pound come off. But then all of a sudden, the pounds just start to shred. And it's really not even about the pounds. It's really about what you're wearing. So you put some pants on, and you're like, wow, man, my belt, I need a belt now to put my pants on, versus before I was just, kind of the pants were tight. That's what you evaluate, not necessarily the scale, but how things fit on you. So, you gotta, instant gratification is something. You got to get over that. You got to be patient with that, and making sure that it's not that the mind, it knows that eventually, if we keep hammering away, eventually we'll see the results.
Well, I really appreciate you, brother, breaking this down. And man, there's just so much truth to it. And I know of many conversations you and I have had, this is one that will stick with me for a long time.
I agree, brother. Good talking to you, man.
All right.
If you enjoy this podcast, make sure you subscribe and review everywhere you listen to podcasts. You think this will make a difference in someone else's life? Make sure you share it with them. Check out all the other episodes and other valuable resources at livelifeonoffense.com.